Hello, everyone. Soft power is the ability to exert influence with cultural and human capital rather than military might. It can mean promoting a country through cuisine, its people, public diplomacy, art and culture, performing arts, yoga, craft and design, cinema, Ayurveda, education, spirituality, tourism, language and literature, and many more things. Although India has exerted this kind of influence since long before it was called soft power, through its practices of Ayurveda, yoga, culture, food, Bollywood, and many more things, people outside of India view the country as low on many attributes that contribute to soft power. Today, we have with us Miss Preity Upala, who is an ex-investment banker, Hollywood producer, geopolitical expert, former Miss India, WEF speaker, and a heterodox polyglot with us today to share her insights on brand India. I welcome you, Preity, on our channel today, and it's my utmost pleasure to share this platform with you.
Well, namaste, Preeti, and namaste to your wonderful audience and to the Civil Services TV station and channel. I am so honored to be on your show.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Preity, for your kind words. So, Preity, despite perception, India's soft power credentials are indisputable. The nation's engagement with its neighbors is historically known for the spread of innovative ideas like Hinduism, maths, language, Ayurveda, yoga, to name a few. But main attributes used to measure soft power are citizenship, quality of life, and entrepreneurialism. So, what in your view is the current standing of brand India as a soft power in the world?
Well, firstly, thank you for having this conversation. I think it's so important because what I've noticed is Indians don't always know what the rest of the world thinks about them. Just like probably Americans don't know what the rest of the world thinks about America either. So, they're
Yes.
insular in a way. And it's always nice for somebody like myself who lives abroad to share what the West especially thinks about India. Now, I think India's brand has certainly changed. And I would say post 2014, we've seen a
Yes.
new India. We've seen a
Yes.
new brand, India, in so many of its forms. And I think this is a long time coming because before that, I think, regardless of who was in power, it was much of the same. But I think 2014 onwards, with the arrival of Prime Minister Modi, as well as
Yes.
his party and his particular kind of governance. And I think what they see as being Indian or Bharatiya and what is important for India's future. And I think most importantly, what the idea of India is. I think that has shifted a lot to actually reflect what the people of India actually feel about their country and their heritage. So I actually welcome this. I think it's a long time coming. Now, remember, soft power is not in place of hard power. They actually go hand in hand because
Yes.
only soft power with no hard power doesn't give you really, you can't do much only with soft power. There are some countries, maybe Thailand is a good example, that has incredible soft power, and they might not be the most powerful military, or geopolitically, they might not be that sort of
Right.
pivotal.
Mhm.
I think they're different to India in many ways. Their population isn't that large, and they're very small. I think a country like India can really make a change in the world, make a dent in the geopolitical game, so to speak. So it's a bit different. So I think brand India is doing as better as it ever has. I'm very proud. I think this is the first time, maybe in 75 years, that Indians are actually proud to call themselves Indian. And whether that is the nationalistic, patriotic people, citizens in India, or it's people like myself, NRIs who live abroad in America or Europe and UK and Australia. And for the first time, we have a leadership that we can look up to, and we have governance and some policies. And when we see our Republic Day parades, and we see what we are doing on all levels of society and the world, I just think that there's so much to be proud of. So I am very happy about that. Uh, these reports that judge soft power index, uh, look, it's just a report, just like human rights reports, which usually misses the real atrocities. I wouldn't take polls and indices or indexes very seriously. I think more important is what the citizens think about their country, and what I think the public domain out there, what does the public think about India? And I think that view has is very positive today, and I think the world is seeing a different India. So that's great.
Yes, you have rightly mentioned that Mr. Modi have been able to build a completely different image for India in the whole world. And Wembley show in 2015 is a proof of that. Like everybody knew that now, like in how strong India can come as a soft brand. So that's absolutely astonishing. So, can you throw some light on what all initiatives have been taken lately to establish India as a soft power? And where is India placing increasing emphasis, and what factors have influenced this?
I think post COVID, India finds itself in a geopolitical sweet spot, which I think is something that I don't think it's ever found itself in. So this is
Mm.
really a golden opportunity for India to jump at this opportunity and really step up and I think deliver. Because, look, we've all said all the great speeches at the UN and international platforms, but even we've stopped short, I think, of fully delivering. We have our past leaders, I think, have disappointed the citizens because they didn't go as far as they could. But I think post-COVID, people are very clear about what kind of governance they want and what kind of world they want to live in and what kind of powers they want running it. And that's not just people in India, but around the world. So I think the biggest asset, I mean, there's a few, but let's look at them. Number one, democracy. The largest democracy in the world, most likely you could say the largest secular democracy in the world, with the godless constitution, is and truly multi-ethnic, diverse people. It's incredible. There's no other country out there like that. So I think we are really a ambassador for proper democracy. And when we have our elections, I think that's something really incredible. So that's one thing. Then the second thing is the pluralism, that India has to offer, because you have every religion, faith, class, creed, ethnicity here living harmoniously because of the fundamental ethos of the country. And that
Mhm.
comes from, this dharmic framework, and it's been around for thousands of years. I think that's the biggest thing that India can showcase. It's always been the cradle of spirituality in the world, and it's the cradle of civilization in the world. But I think now it can really showcase this sort of unity, diversity, oneness to the world, because I think we're living in an extremely divisive planet, and people are finding that they're different and they're disagreeing, and it's becoming very heated. I think a country like India can actually show the world how people with different opinions can actually coexist peacefully and with the greater good in mind. I think in terms of the environment and solar energy and energy, I would say it comes out on top. I think some of the initiatives the government has taken, especially with it's like the solar leader of the world today, banning the single-use plastics quicker than the other Western countries. And I think some of these things that have been rolled out, the initiatives, for a country of 1.4 billion, that's not an easy task. I see tiny countries of maybe 5 to 10 million struggling to roll out basic simple reforms, and here is a country with so many people. Overnight the reform seems to happen. You wake up the next day and there's a new law and people are following it, and I think that's great. So I think in that term, obviously this whole spiritual new age quality, that India has always been sort of the spiritual teacher of the world. But I think it's more important now, where people are sort of moving away from even organized, rigid religion, so to speak, monotheistic religion, and they're looking at philosophies, and they want a way of life, so whether it's Hinduism, Buddhism, or Jainism, they just think that this is a better way for the world, where there's mutual respect, and we can respect people's opinions towards faith. We don't impose it. We're not preaching, forcefully converting, any of that. There's complete freedom and tolerance and respect. And I think that's the kind of world we should be living in. So, I don't want to comment on Bollywood right now, considering what's happening, but I will say that Indian
Exactly.
culture, the dancing, the cuisine, the clothes, all of those amazing things are important. And of course, Ayurveda, yoga, Vedic philosophy is the greatest export, I think, of India, and it's only going to double down and get more. We are now, the whole world is finding out and loving and appreciating India for it. So I think it's a great thing.
Exactly. Being someone living outside of India, you can, and even I can now experience, like, we can very well say that, and we can see the Indian culture here, like the Indian restaurants, the clothing, the culture, everything is so popular here. I mean, they want, they celebrate International Yoga Day and things like that. So it's it's proud worthy.
Yes.
So, with all these initiatives, Pretty, is the focus on India's soft power on a global stage enough? What do you feel like, or does India still undersell itself?
Oh, that's a great point. I must say, yes, even though I've just narrated last 5 minutes, all this good stuff, it definitely undersells itself. I think the beauty and the tragedy of Bharat is that has a lot of humility. It's very mature civilization. So there's, I think, incredible spiritual and emotional depth to it, which makes it humble. It's like the older brother who doesn't gloat and doesn't feel the need to sort of at every turn say, this is what I discovered, or this is my contribution to the world. When I look at America, that's like the baby brother who is always saying, I did this, this is good, that's good. The thing is that the whole world knows about America's greatness, which it rightfully is great. But I think it, there comes a time when the big brother needs to actually take authority and say, I've been around, more than any of you, and I've seen a thing or two, and I think I can share my nuggets of wisdom over thousands of years, which has remained intact. And what can you learn from me, because I have stood the test of time? I don't think any other country can actually say that to the level that India can. So I think we do undersell ourselves. I think one area where we are disappointing in is communication of,
Yes.
like, from the government's perspective. A lot of things, good things happen in India, and the world doesn't hear about it. And then when they're misreporting, false, like, distortion of facts that come from the West about India, we don't correct it properly. We are not quick to put forward our narrative. And the problem is, when you don't correct it, people keep reading it and they think that that's the truth, even though it's not. And I think we can't be too haughty in that way. I think somewhere we've become either too arrogant about, it doesn't matter what the world thinks about us. What matters is dharma and satya, which is the truth. And the problem is, the world doesn't work like that. This is Kali Yuga. This is not the golden ages. This is not the era of satya. This is the era of Kali Yuga, where you have to be, like Krishna said, this is your dharma, this is your karma. Go fight that war, because you're fighting in the name of dharma. So I think we can do better with really communicating. I think politically we need to be a greater power. I think we have been, sort of non-aligned, very ambiguous for many, many decades. Now it's a time to make strong alliances, be very clear about who your friends are, who your enemies are, what your political stance is. Your foreign policy needs to be sharper. I think you need to call out on a lot of distortions. The subcontinent, South Asia subcontinent region, is very foreign to America and Europe. they don't really do much research on it. So it's our job to let them know the reality, because I think a lot of them will just read newspapers and not do their own research. So they don't really know what's going on in Kashmir, or, border, or the neighborhood and so on. And I think we need to really kind of show, and the truth is on our side. We actually have facts on our side to sort of back up what we say. I think we need, so our diplomats, I think, need to do a better of a job. And look, the UN, I think you need to really put pressure on the UN. It's about time to let India in. I
Yes,
think
exactly.
75 years is too long. So I think that's a
Yes.
big, the day that happens, I think the day that India is in the permanent Security Council group, I think that's then an actual shift has happened.
That's something which is long due. We deserve it, and now it should happen. And you correctly said, I absolutely agree with you on the point of communication. We are really lacking on communicating. I mean, if we pick up the example of tourism industry, even after so many efforts, we have not been able to, publicize our tourism in the sector to a level which is required. We have so many exquisite places to visit, but they're not popular here. So yeah, you rightly mentioned. So how do you think this could change over coming years?
I think the important thing is that we're having the conversations. So
Yeah.
this interview is something that now the young students, when they will hear us speak, they will realize there is a problem. There's a serious, it's not all rosy. I think there's so many gaps in the Indian diplomacy, foreign policy, governance, and MEA, all of that kind of international relations, let's say. And they are the future. So they have to take what we are saying very seriously, and they need to sort of brainstorm on creative ways where they can do this. I think the good thing is it's a clean slate. The only way you can go is up. I don't think
Yeah.
you can, nothing is going to be negated now. I think we've been pretty sensible and pragmatic, I think, so far, which at least hasn't gotten us into hot water. But
Mhm.
so moving forward, we just need to take some leaps and leaps in faith in a way, and be more out of the box. So on, I think the government needs to hire people, what's the word, laterally, like multilaterally,
Mhm.
outside of the foreign service, because there are some of the most knowledgeable strategic thinkers live in America and Europe, Indian
Yes.
citizens, I mean, and these people can contribute so much to the country. I read a survey recently that Indian Indians are the most patriotic people in the world. I'm not surprised. I mean, there is so much to be proud of. But the thing is that these NRIs sitting outside are extremely successful. They've done very well for themselves. They
Yes,
care
yes.
so deeply about India and India's future and India's place in the world. They have much to offer. So I think the government needs to engage them in many, many ways. They can really work with the MEA, I think, in so many ways.
That's a very good suggestion, and it's totally doable. I think let's hope this happens, and because you guys like staying out, and you make India so proud with your
Yes,
initiatives, with your work, with your talent.
because I mean, look, the nine of the top 10 tech companies in the world have Indians as CEOs, whether it's
Exactly.
Google or Apple. Microsoft,
Yes,
and
yes.
and it used to be Pepsi and Mastercard and so on. And the thing is that these aren't third generation Indian Americans, who went to Harvard and don't speak Hindi and very Americanized. No, these are Indians from India. Some of them aren't even really, I mean, I'm sure they're naturalized at this stage, but they came, their education, their training was from India,
Was
and
from India.
their sense of leadership and entrepreneurship is actually very Indian. I think India
Yes.
is the most uh, entrepreneurial hub in the world, and I think that's another thing that the world doesn't know. I think now they're starting to realize that this is a land of free thinkers, innovators, scientists, entrepreneurs. A lot of people work for themselves, small business, and they're apps, and it's like the app capital of the world. So it's not just the
Exactly.
Silicon Valleys where they dominate there, but even in India now they're doing and the new Silicon Valley is in Bangalore and Hyderabad
Yes.
anyway.
Yes.
So this is one more thing that we need to show the world, that this is the digital future and the data capital of the world, and you need to invest here, and you need to open your businesses, and you need to work here. But I think then the government needs to support the foreign companies and not give them a hard time, because I think it's not easy to, they're the poor foreign companies. I'm very impressed that despite so much uh, difficulties in sort of setting up a big multinational or a company in India, I think nobody has lost faith. They still want to work with India. They don't want to work with China, despite how hard we make it for them, right? So this is on us, I think, at this stage.
Yes. And you mentioned Howard, so I would like to mention here, like today only it was announced that the new dean of Howard now is an Indian. I read it on LinkedIn today.
That's true. That's
So,
amazing. So
yes.
now we're coming into media and academia as well. So that's, I think the only thing left is politics.
Yes. So pretty. Do you think recent decisions made by the government of India has affected its soft image in the world? Recently, I mean, because everybody knows, like we have recently got a lot of bad publicity due to few decisions concerning with CAA or like 370 or like banning the Chinese apps, etc., etc.
True. So, great question. Some of these things actually got good press. I think the banning of TikTok and taking China to task, being firm
Mm-hmm.
on China, and even what's happening with the standoff, I think the world is behind us. So that some of the recent decisions have definitely actually been very favorable
Mm-hmm.
to India, and the rest of the
To India.
world realizes that this is a important ally to the West, and we need to support them and back them up. And I think that was good with things like the 370 and CAA. I think to the people that matters, they did back India, and they understood that these were uh, initiatives or events that were important to India's future, and they respected that, and they actually, I think they secretly agreed that it was the right thing to do. So to whom it matters, I think we were fine. I think the problem for us again was the communication aspect of it. I think it's mainstream media in the West that has an agenda, obviously, and they sort of ran amok with it. These kind of events, and I think the government knows this, when they put out a release saying Indian government has overturned this or added this law, they know that there's going to be an uproar. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure they expected Western media to sort of go crazy. I think where they failed was they didn't put forth their communication, their justification, which they could have done in an extremely composed manner, filled with facts and backed up with data. Because in real think tanks and on the UN and all of that, people got it. I think the world kind of, even it's funny, 370 actually we had um, more support. I think people don't realize that abrogation of Article 370 was probably one of the most important or biggest consequential political events of this
Yes.
decade, maybe, or many decades
Yes.
to come, because
Yes.
it changed the story of the India Pakistan situation. And this is the most militarized area in the world. So when you change an equation to do with that, it does affect the world. It's a big deal. So that was actually a huge event. And funnily enough, I think the world sort of backed India. I think India got more support with 370. 370 was okay. I expected a civil war, to be honest, and that didn't happen. I think our issue came somehow with the CAA thing, which
CAA,
out of
exactly.
all the actions that the government has taken, CAA was the most benign one. This is giving refuge to persecuted minorities, from neighboring countries
neighboring
who
countries.
have been in India for decades. It's nothing big and it's nothing unusual. It's a long time coming and it's a small group of people. It should have been the most. Uh, I'm surprised it was even reported in the news. But what the uproar that ended up happening, I think, because people misunderstood it. And I think leaders politicized it, obviously. And then again, the Western media, they're always looking for an excuse to jump, lash out on India. And I think this was a little bit communal in nature. So I think the CAA was handled very poorly. Because even
Yeah.
today in America, they'll have some talk about this, but where is the Indian voice? And the NRIs are having to work overtime to
Mhm.
clarify the situation and make sure that these resolutions are not passed in the American city councils. It's like free citizens like myself who are taking their time and fighting for India, and that's not their job, and it's very stressful, and they end up also getting smeared in the process. So I think the government needs to do something about this. They need better spokespeople. I don't know if they have a press team here. If they do, they're not doing a very good job. They need to really calm down their high horse, I think, in this area and just be humble and hire good people and hire an army of people. I think they need it because we don't have a strong lobby at all in this country, even though we are the most educated and wealthiest group in
Yeah.
America. We have
Mhm.
zero political say.
Yeah. So again, the role of communication comes out like becoming to be most important here. So pretty, as we talk about being in America, being a global citizen with your remarkable heritage, what is your opinion of India's soft image in North America and other leading soft powers in the world?
I think I've seen in my own lifetime, and I'm young. I haven't, been around for
Yeah.
that long. But even in the past few 2, 3 decades, I have seen with my own eyes, living in Australia, Europe, Dubai, and now in America, I've seen the perception of Indians and India in the world change, like tenfold. 20 years ago, we were not anything of consequence on the global stage. There were many times that we were probably some sort of the butt end of some joke, I'm sure. And today, for the first time in my life, I'm seeing other Indians, fellow Indians, be proudly say, I'm Indian. That's my leader. That's my PM. This is my government, and this is what India did. It's amazing, and I only hope to see this increase as our leadership gets even more firmer and stronger, and the government gets more clear on the who they are, what they want to do. I mean, I've been very privileged. In the last 5 to 10 years, I've traveled a lot. I've been to over 100 countries, and everywhere where I go, people, they look at me, they say, "You're Indian," and all they do is just like spew out things about India, like all good things, all positive things. And I know that they're not making any of this up because it's so authentic the way they say it. So I may be in a taxi or maybe sitting next to someone on a plane and they always say, "You're Indian. I love India. I love Indian people, this, that, and the other." And more, I'm seeing more of them comment politically on India, saying, "I think you guys have good leadership. I think you're finally, putting your foot down and you're calling out on bias, and you guys are dealing with terrorism or these geopolitical issues very well, and we need you, and we could learn a thing or two from you." So that's great. Like I was in Russia not that long ago, and it's minus 30 degrees it's snowing, and there was an older Russian lady. She came up to me and she said namaste. I mean, and then she started talking about Raj Kapoor and movies and all of that, and
Wow.
I just thought, this is Russia, and this is like this probably, I don't know her story, but she had this incredible love for Indian culture, and I see that everywhere. So we are definitely doing the right thing. I think we can amp it up because I feel like post COVID, I think there is some space for us to maybe step up more than we have ever had the space to do so.
Mhm.
And I fear that if we miss this uh, time, this
Opportunity.
opportunity, I don't think it'll come back again very soon. So we may have to wait a long time. So this would be the time to act, I think.
to act. Yeah, this is a good time to come up. Okay, so Preity, it was lovely to meet you and interact with you. And our discussion, it was so enlightening. I think for me, it was so enlightening. I am sure for our audiences also it will be. And it was really meaningful. Thank you so much. Thank you for giving your time to us.
Thank you, Preeti, and thank you to your audience. And I just want to add, guys, if you, I mean, I love to keep in touch. So please, find me on social media. I'm all over. Maybe we'll leave some links for you. But reach out, ask me questions. I love to speak to young students. I do a lot of lectures with students from IIT and IIMs and so on at universities in India and abroad. And whether it's spirituality, religion, or geopolitics, I love to speak to young minds and see what they are feeling. So please reach out. I just love to hear from you.
Sure, I'll share all. You can share them with me, and I'll share all the links with our students as well, and they can reach out to you. And that will be like so good from your end to open saying this with open arms and encouraging students to come up and ask questions. That will
Yes.
be like really good for them. Thank you so much. Thank you
Wonderful.
so much.
Thank you, Preeti. Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Namaste.
Namaste.
For more such discussions, like, share, and subscribe our channel, and also hit the bell button for our upcoming videos.